This is where we get our eggs from, right here. We get our eggs, our fowl chicken, and we get our regular chicken along with chicken cutlets and all that kind of stuff. It's a great place if you get an opportunity. If you're in the Berkshires, you want to stop at the Otis Farm and you want to support the Otis Farm. And then of course, this is a rental that we like to come to when we're here. Yes, it's not uncommon for it to snow in April. April. A lot of people think that this is like some sort of government-controlled weather. And I'm not saying that the government does not control the weather and use the weather as a weapon. But I am saying that this is not uncommon to have snow in April. Absolutely common for this to be like this. Let's listen to a little Moe Factz while we drive.
July 31st, 2019, Moe Factz with Adam Curry. This is episode number 1. Hey, Mo.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So, there you go. I figured out the title of the show.
All right, what'd you come up with?
Moe Factz with Adam Curry.
I like that.
Yeah, you already got the brand on the YouTube channel, so, and everywhere else.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being humble to let me lead on the marquee.
Well, you have to lead on the marquee. So we're trying something new here. This is a brand new show. This is the pilot, the premiere episode, number 1. And little background. I received an email from Mo, maybe a couple months ago, and he's a listener to the No Agenda show, and he said, if you really want to know what ADOS is about, and I think I talked about DOS, descendants of slavery, because I kept seeing that pop up here and there, but I really didn't have a clue as to what was going on. And so we started. Actually, I was on my honeymoon. That's what it was. And we were DMing back and forth on Twitter, and I was DMing with you, I think, all the way back to Texas. On the plane, we had Wi-Fi, so we're DMing back and forth, and I was like, holy crap, this guy he's opening up a whole new world for me. I had no idea this existed. And then we started chatting a bit, and these phone calls would often last an hour, and I'd take some of what I'd learned and take it over to the No Agenda show, and finally I said, we should maybe record this. If I'm getting something out of it, and you're getting something out of it, maybe other people will. You want to tell the story from your side, Mo? Because we never really talked about that.
So, it was following the HR 40.
Oh right,
the reparations hearing, and you was shining light on it. But one thing that was missing from the story that you did was ADOS, which ADOS is the reason why the whole reparation talk has kicked up. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, and I wanted to bring attention to that. And I also wanted to bring attention to the fact that it's not, ADOS is like a brand of what is called foundational blacks, native blacks. There's several different titles or names going around for black people that are descendants of slavery, American slavery, and that's very important because, like you said, you brought up DOS. But even after the term DOS came about, ADOS bloomed from that because we need to be very specific if we're talking about getting rights, getting reparations from America. So I thought I would fill in the blanks that were left out by the mainstream media. And I think that was the goal, was to leave ADOS out of the mainstream media. So I think you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, like a derivative of the mainstream media, and if it's not there, and for you guys to pull it out,
then we can't get it. You're absolutely
right. You can't address it. So
absolutely,
I thought it was my duty to, reach out to you and be boots on the ground. And like you said, we DM for seemed like days. Sorry, Tina. I'm sorry about that.
like some odd lovers, like, ooh, I'm DMing my man. Yeah.
Right. So, and I think you were very receptive to, the information that I was giving you, and you did it justice on the following show. And from there, I thought, I would keep providing you what's really going on that the mainstream media is not talking about.
And so as we were talking, then these conversations just kept getting more interesting, and I was blown away because unless you are given a couple of data points, I'll just call black people. It's just easier. That's ADOS in my mind, but that term, or people of color, or even African American. Since Barack Obama, we know that African American didn't really mean anymore what it meant, because Barack Obama was not African American. He was not strictly ADOS. Correct?
And that's correct. And I think the term black at one time in this country meant one thing, but over time, due to mass immigration from Africa, as well as other factors, that the term black no longer represents what was once identified as descendants of slavery, of American slavery.
Right.
So that's where I have to give credit where credit due. Yvette Carnell and Tone Talks, Antonio Moore coined this term / hashtag, and it really stuck, and it gave us descendants of slaves from America something to rally around. But they're not the only brand in town, so I want to be clear of that. But I think they have the most popular branding of the term, and it's a very unpopular. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's very unpopular that we want to separate ourselves from the monolith of blackness that the mass media wants to paint us as.
And it's not just mass media. If you listen to the American government, they really don't even think about this. They don't see the separation. It's more like, what we were talking the other day about the Congressional Black Caucus. In my mind, it's like, oh, great. So we got the Congressional Black Caucus over there. That's all going to be ADOS. No. Ilhan Omar is in the Congressional Black Caucus.
Correct, and it's very, and I want to make it clear that there is a rift between ADOS and some black immigrants, but other black immigrants are being supportive, and they're termed as allies.
What a politically correct term. Oh, good.
Right, and that's the term that, if you're for American descendants of slaves receiving reparations from America, they consider allies. But there is another faction that feel like if we separate ourselves from the term black, then they lose a little bit of how can I say this? sympathy is a bad word, but whenever people use the term black, it's used as a leveraging tool in politics. So we're going to address this black thing or that black thing.
Yes. Well, you mentioned reparations, and you're right. That's how we started talking over the HR 40 bill, which was really a bill put in place to start investigating the idea of reparations. And you said a couple of things. Reparations is a complicated thing. But it depends on how you look at it. Essentially, we just had a huge 9/11 reparations bill. I mean, a really, really big one. We're talking $50, $60, $70 billion. And above and beyond insurance and other things. And I personally think that might have been an insurance bailout in a way, certainly for the airline industry. But I think the term you used the phrase that reparations would be payment for services rendered. And I really like that because you can interpret that in so many different ways. Services rendered to the Democrats, the Democrat Party, services rendered as slaves. I mean, there's many different ways to interpret it. And a lot of people are like, oh, reparations, yeah, no, we shouldn't do it. Maybe we should. It's a lot of discussion. But when you see what kind of reparations have been paid to people of all kinds of tragedies, it's very interesting to look at the reparations for ADOS and see that really I don't know if there's a lot of movement, if people really understand what they want, if there's a real ask. Is there a number? Maybe that's what HR 40 is intended to do, is to come down to a number. What do you think ADOS wants?
Okay, so there is a number. I mean, there's a range of numbers. When you talk about the hardcore, what they call, reparation pushers or demanders, they're talking in the trillions of dollars. Yeah. Multiple trillions, up to, I've heard numbers high as $20 trillion.
And how do they calculate that?
So that's funny that you asked that. If you watched the debate last night.
Oh, funny you say that. I have the clip of Marianne Williamson. Let me. All
right, you want to play that?
Yeah, I do, because now I've heard her talk reparations before. We've also, you and I have discussed her doing, kind of weird stuff in the church, which seems a little off message if you're trying to reach a certain group of people. But we're doing this on Wednesday, July 31st, so the first of the second round of Democratic candidate debates was held, and Marianne Williamson finally got it out all in one go. And I have to say, even though she is unlikely to have any chance of becoming president, but maybe she does, crazier things have happened, I thought this was spot-on message, and cruising along Twitter today, I didn't see as many people picking up on it the way I guess I did. Here she is, Marianne Williamson.
Speaking of reparations, Miss Williamson, many of your opponents support a commission to study the issue of reparations for slavery. But you are calling for up to $500 billion in financial assistance. What makes you qualified to determine how much is owed in reparations?
Well, first of all, it's not $500 billion in financial assistance. It's $500 billion, $200 to $500 billion, payment of a debt that is owed. That is what reparations is. We need some deep truth when it comes. We don't need another commission to look at evidence. I appreciate what Congressman O'Rourke has said. It is time for us to simply realize that this country will not heal. The older the country...
Oh, there's tons of fish, though. There's tons and tons and tons of fish down in there. Cody, way too close to the edge. Don't push the limits. Back your butt up. Seriously. You play too much. The hospitals are supposedly all full with COVID. We don't need a kid with a broken arm. Neither can I. So little Cody accompanied me to the Berkshires where I picked up my last check from somebody that I was doing some personal chefing for. And it's kind of sad to know that, like, you know, things are getting tight. People are, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, a lot of weeks have gone by. And we do the best that we can with what we got. You know, you're tapping into your savings. You're trying to, I don't know. It doesn't seem like, it feels like they want to crush us. You know how Star says things like, the best time to kick a man is when he's down. And that's what it feels like. It feels like they're kicking us while we're down. They want to just squeeze every drop out of us. That's what it feels like. Every drop is being squeezed. Hopefully I don't have to come out here to fish for food. Nothing wrong with fishing for food, but if that's your only options, that kind of sucks. Don't get too close to the edge, buddy. Come on. Okay.
Is a collection of people here when there's some deep truth-telling. We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say 200 to 500 billion dollars? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of the Civil War, there were 4 to 5, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of 4. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult, and I believe that 200 to 500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. There's your calculation.
Right, and that's the funny thing is that
now go.
whoever's coaching her on this topic has her spot on.
Yeah,
she has her finger on the pulse of what's being discussed on what you want to call it, black YouTube, black Twitter, or anything.
Yeah, I'm on gray Twitter at this point. Yeah, I got some black Twitter coming into my feed, but I didn't see a lot about it, Mo.
Of course, you're not going to see a lot about it because, first of all, the numbers make people very uncomfortable. And even herself, she has to dial it back. And I don't think she can make herself even, not her personally, but her campaign to say the T word, trillion.
Right.
So they have to say 500 million,
but isn't that interesting? We've got other candidates talking trillions of dollars for healthcare, and for no one has a problem with the trillion number. Just in this specific case, they do.
Well, just look at the definition of what they're using as reparation. Even Don Lemon said assistance, and I'm glad she
corrected him there. Yes, that was good.
Not assistance, and this is where I come in.
She says it's a debt to payments owed, I think, but it's kind of similar to what you said. You know, services rendered. It's money that is owed, is what she said.
Correct, and that's what I want people to fully understand is. This is how descendants of slaves, American descendants of slaves, look at this. Our great-great-great-great-grandparents, depending on how far or how old you are, rendered services to this nation. I mean, force, but we still render services, and they were never paid back for that. So it's not an assistance program, it's payment for the work, the hard work they did to get this country off the ground. So when they want to say assistance, that is very insulting, because it's not assistance. That makes it seem like welfare or any other governmental program. No,
right? Yes, words do matter in this case. Absolutely.
And like I said, whoever's coaching her, or whoever's informing her, or whoever's in her corner,
Oprah, of course.
Right, they have her spot on. And I was like blown back. I was like, when she first started out, I'm like, okay, she went there. She said, no, not assistance. This is, and the other thing she said is, not just talk about it. And that's what HR 40 is about.
And that assistance is important because, as you and I have discussed previously, affirmative action, which was, as far as I know, really intended for the then unbranded ADOS, has turned into something much, much broader.
That's correct. White women in general, immigrants of all ilk, take advantage of this, and even programs that are set aside for even black people, they factor in African immigrants that came here, or Caribbean immigrants that came here after slavery. And I think that's a poor representation, because say, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but say if you have 7% ADOS or 8% ADOS and 5% immigrants post-slavery, but then you have them overrepresented in colleges, universities, places of employment, scholarship dollars. That's not how affirmative action was set up to work. It was set up as probably as a repayment of for what happened during slavery. So
thank you for watching. You are appreciated. Let's remember the name of this bridge and what we're now standing for.
Boom.